sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah, wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Quran, wa khayrul umuri awazzimuha, وخير الأمور أوازموها وشير الأمور محدثاتها وأحسن الهدي هدي الأنبياء وأشرف الموت قتل الشهداء وأما علامة دلالة بعد الهدى وخير الأعمال مع النفاء وخير الحال مع إتباع وشير الأمة أما الكلام. The Prophet ﷺ has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmuru bil-adli wal-ihsani wa-ita'i dil-qurba wa-yanha nil-fashai wal-munkari wal-bagi ya'ittakum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice to doing of good and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يَرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan will to guide, He opens their breast to Islam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nasi ta'muruna bil-ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best peoples ever raised up for mankind. You enjoin the right, you forbid the wrong, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين محمدين النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان الله أسرى بعبده لَيْلًا مِنَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ الْأَقْصَى الَّذِي بَارَكْنَا حَوْلَهُ لِنُرِيَهُ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Glory be to Allah, who did take his servant for a journey by night from the sacred Masjid to the furthest Masjid, whose precincts we did bless, in order that we might show him some of our signs, for he is the one who heareth and knoweth all things. This is related to the Isra wa Miraj of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was taken from Mecca, right, to Jerusalem, and then to paradise. And in paradise is when he met many of the Anbiya and even held discussions with them, asking questions and what have you. At one stop, he meets Musa alayhi salam, and he says, "What did your Lord command you?" And he said, he commanded 50 salats a day. So Musa said, "Go back and ask your Lord to reduce it." You know, and so Musa alayhi salam, this went on until he said Allah had ordained 5 daily prayers. And some hadith said Musa asked him to go back again, because he said this is too much for the Ummah, because he knew how his people was. So he was going off of his experience of humanity. But Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "I'm too ashamed to go back. 5, that's it." You know, he said, "I'm too ashamed to go back to my Lord and ask for any more reduction." So anyway, glory be to Allah, who did take his servant, Abdihi, you know, a servant, so his servant, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now remember, he's taking him from Mecca to Al-Quds. And the reason we're talking about this today is because this is Quds Day. Quds Day is the last day of Ramadan. And the last day of Ramadan is something 40 years ago, Imam Khomeini chose that day, the last Friday of Ramadan, to have demonstrations, to have Khutbahs, all of those things that relate to the liberation of Palestine. Can you imagine they just having a revolution in Iran? And the first thing that Imam Khomeini does is establish a day during Ramadan, the last Friday of Ramadan, which that's today. And they're having khutbahs, lectures, and talks all over the world. They're not having, I think in Iran, they're having a demonstration by auto in the cars. But usually it's a large demonstration, and they go to the the prayer ground, and they pray and what have you. And it's the biggest demonstration in the world related to Palestine. It's established by Imam Khomeini. And at first it was most of the brothers from Iran participating, then many others got involved, and this is a great contribution. So in this ayat, it's telling us, you and I, the object of Al-Quds, Masjid al-Aqsa, is not a national issue. It's not a racial issue. Even Palestine, the liberation of Palestine, which houses Al-Quds, right? Masjid al-Aqsa. You would call it the Dome on the Rock, but Masjid al-Aqsa is actually the little masjid next to it. That's the Dome on the Rock is really what we identify as the masjid. But technically, that wasn't where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam made his Isra from to go to paradise. It wasn't there. It was a little masjid next to it. There's another thing that we should think about is the name of Masjid al-Aqsa is Al-Ul al-Qiblatain. Al-Ul al-Qiblatain. The first of the two Qiblas. Now you have to remember that we used to pray toward Jerusalem. And the direction came down in Al-Medina during the prayer time. And the Prophet ﷺ was leading the prayer, and when it came down, he turned directly toward Mecca. Now, can you imagine right now, if you get a tape measure, if you get a compass, and the direction he was facing was exactly toward Mecca. And everybody else looked, and they turned right along with him. Right? So what are we saying here? We're saying that Al-Ul al-Qiblatain, the first of the two holy sites, because out of the three holiest cities for Islam is, of course, Mecca, Medina, and Al-Quds, Jerusalem. And a couple of the old Masjid have two Qiblas. That's about two or three in Arabia. They have two Qiblas, one at Medina, and one for Mecca, and the other one for Quds, for Jerusalem. Yeah. Anyway, this is laying out the point that when we were nationalists, we supported Palestine anyway. As black people, we automatically supported Palestine anyway. You look at Africa, literally everyone in Africa supports the liberation of Palestine. Why? Because they were colonized. So they see what the Israelis are doing in Palestine right now is exactly what was done to them during their colonial period. People from Europe came and occupied their country and technically took all their resources and enslaved them. So these people that are now in occupied Palestine are technically against every resolution that they have in the UN. Number one, they are occupied. Number two, they're colonized. Number three, the UN found that Zionism is racism. The whole ideology of Zionism is a form of racism. Okay, so you have to remember, in fact, we used to have a flag, not a flag, we used to have, like now we had a triangle of terror, Saudi Arabia, the United States, and Israel. Well, years ago, we had another triangle of terror. And we had a big poster with the South African flag with chains on it, hooking up to the Israeli flag, and then hooking up to the U.S. flag. Why? They're both settler colonial states. The U.S. is a settler colonial state. They automatically going to support Zionism. They automatically supported South Africa. They automatically did it. Why? Because they was born and bred on the same mother. Colonialism, racism, and oppression. So now, although all the national countries in the world support the liberation of Palestine, since the U.S. is in the Security Council, it has the ability to outvote everybody. For instance, I remember the invasion of Lebanon in 1982. It was 120 countries voted against it, but the U.S. voted for it, so it's too bad. 120 y'all, one of us, fine. Just because they killed 40 1,000 people and left over 1 million homeless in little old Lebanon. It wasn't no big deal. The Zionists can do anything. You watch TV. They can do anything they want because the United States of America supports them. So now, we just want to read this. So just because you support Palestine, we support Palestine, Al-Quds, the liberation of Palestine. Not only they're Muslims, most of 90% of the people in Palestine are Muslims, maybe a small percentage Christians, and a few others, you know. Glory be to Allah. Subhanallah di asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa. So glory be to thee, who did take his servant for a night journey. We don't want to go through all the discussion they had about the night journey because some people didn't believe it. Abu Bakr Siddiq believed it. That's where he gets the name Siddiq, that he confirmed the truth. From the sacred mosque to the furthest mosque. At that time, that was the furthest masjid, whose precincts we did bless in order that we might show him some of our signs. And there are many other signs associated with the Isra or Miraj. In fact, we have a special day and night we celebrate that in Islam. For he is the one who heareth and seeth all things. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was taken there. He came back, and then he gave us the message that he received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's Islamic. Now we deal with the part that is human. That is human and common to all people. So first of all, there was several lectures today, and Sayyid Nasrullah from Lebanon, he gave a beautiful talk. One of the things we have to remember is that Quds is a symbol of resistance. In modern times, the Israeli state is a symbol of oppression. Hardcore, global, worldwide oppression. And they can do it openly, and they can do whatever they want to do. You take the friends of the United States. Let's say Saudi Arabia, Israel. One is attacking and destroying another Muslim country. Now, first of all, it's prohibited for Muslims to fight each other or to attack another Muslim. And not only that, they just all Arabs. Yemen is next door to Saudi Arabia. But they can war against them. They can kill them. Even during this coronavirus, whatever it is, they ain't having no slack. They're not taking no break. Right? They still oppressing and killing the people of Yemen. Although if they would have studied the hadith, they would talk about, they could find the blessings of Syria and the blessings of Yemen. But if you look in that part of the world, you'll find what? Syria is just wrapping up a war. Yemen is still in the middle of a war. And Saudi Arabia supports both of them on behalf of the Israelis. And they get their weapons from the United States of America and Israel. And if anybody is harmed in Syria, right, they're going to take them right right next door to the hospital in the occupied Palestine, in the Israeli state. What we're trying to say is, if you're a friend of the United States of America, you can have someone come to your embassy, you can chop them up, cut them up, and you can put them in a little box or whatever you put them in, and do whatever you want with them, because you're a friend of the United States of America. You hear what I'm saying? That's what they can do at the Turkish embassy, right? The Saudi embassy in Turkey, they can kill anybody they want. Khashoggi, they can just kill them because they're a friend of America. They can bomb and kill the brothers and sisters in Yemen because they're a friend of America. The Israelis can destroy, occupy, break laws, rules. The UN say you can't occupy a country, first of all, right? And then you can't build whatever you want to build, new settlements. You can't build new settlements. You can't do that. It's against the law, the UN law. But they can do it, they can get away with it because they are friends of America. Remember, Triangle of Terror. We talked about that years ago. Okay, so Quds is a symbol of resistance. But with all that going on, you know what we got? We got the opportunity playing a part in the new world transformation. Here's how it goes. Let's start back 2011. Most of y'all will remember this right here. This is a statement, what does it say? From one of the notebooks. It's called Trans-Forecasting. And we have, number one, to clear up everything, this is a protracted struggle. Protracted means it's stretched out over a long period of time. That's what we have, a protracted struggle. This was delivered, same place Kennedy was assassinated, down there in Dallas, Texas. Well, it was Texas. Yeah, and it was 2011. We said certain things at that time. And we said them here. Number one, there will be no Arab Spring. Forget about that. That's the first thing we said. There ain't gonna be no Arab Spring. That's when everybody was jumping up and down. And we said, step one will be a destabilizing effect in that area. Remember, they destabilized Libya. They technically destroyed Libya, and Libya is not functional until today. When you look at Libya, you'll see that whether people came from Afghanistan, whether they came from Syria, whether the African countries, you got to remember, Gaddafi had a nickname, the King of Africa. So Chad and all those countries, now remember, Libya was rich. They got that good sweet oil in Libya. And Gaddafi helped all the black people, mostly in Africa. He just helped with money. Everybody do that. He helped Negroes here in the United States. When Libya was destabilized, if you go back 2015, 16, all those years when all the people were drowning in the Mediterranean because they was coming across to go to Libya. Libya destabilized, right? So all the people that was flooding into Europe from Africa and from the Middle East was coming through Libya. They couldn't do that before. So they had a war in Syria, millions of people going to Libya. From Libya, They take them rickety boats and they drown by the thousands in the Mediterranean Sea, washing up all on the shore. That couldn't have happened if Libya was still under the control of Gaddafi. Plus it's $34 million, $1 billion in gold. This is important. Remember, in gold, not copper coins and stuff like that, and paper money. So he was stable. And he used his money to help telecommunications and all of that. That's what he did. Destabilization. Also in Syria. The war, the destabilization in Syria was the precursor of what's going on in the whole Middle East now. So we said they're going to destabilize. But step number two would be temporary transformation. During these years, Ikhwan al-Muslimin came over here and they talked with Obama administration. And he told them, yeah, we pro-Arab Spring and da-da-da-da-da and all of that. At the same time, I got a call on the telephone from Masoud Sajere, or the Islamic, what do they call it? Human Rights Party, something or other in England. I know him, we've been to dinner many times. And Muhammad al-Asi, they called me, both of them, they were together. They went to Tahrir Square, and they called me personally because everybody had heard over here, or they had heard before they went over there, what I was saying about Egypt, about that so-called Arab Spring. I say, it ain't no Arab Spring. You ain't gonna have no Arab Spring. Do y'all remember that here? Ain't gonna be no Arab Spring. We also told Ikhwan al-Muslimin, don't trust these boys. They gonna, whatever you try to do, first of all, if you gain power and you're promising the people you're gonna fix everything and da-da-da-da, number one, you can't fix Egypt and nowhere else if the Zionists, if the Americans, and if the Saudis are gonna undermine it. You can't do it. You just can't do it. Right? So therefore, the Ikhwan left here with the okay to go ahead and establish a government. We told them, don't do it. We told them physically, people when they came here, don't do that. They did it anyway. Mohammed Morsi became the president, the leader. He couldn't do nothing. After a while, they come back and put him in jail, and he died in jail. Right? Everybody knows that. Not only that, they slaughtered thousands of Ikhwanis in the streets of Cairo. Nobody wants to listen to the Negro. We done already told them, hey man, that ain't gonna happen. Okay, that's what we told them. That's not made up. This is all just written, and we was just doing it naturally. Then we said there'll be temporary transformation. They'll give you the government, they'll give you a big smile, and that's it. Step 3 is organizing unity of opposition, semi-consolidation. That means the third step, you look at the world, what's going on in the world, and then you have to come up with an analysis. You don't have to, but that's what we do here. We come up with an analysis. Which way are the trends going? If they continue to go that way, what would be the outcome? Okay, then let's have an alternative analysis. So you may have 2 or 3 analyses. Things that happen may be a combination of all of them, or they may be just what you said. Now, you can't get more transforecasting than this one right here. Because what we're doing right now, we're living doing that. So let me speed up what we're talking about. Semi-consolidation of forces. That means what happened since then was a strategic alliance. The goal of the West has always been to destabilize the Muslim world in the Middle East, and then they have to turn to the West to rebuild. They have to buy their weapons, right? Old raggedy weapons. They can't kill nobody but each other from the West. The military-industrial complex, right? Boy, it's a good game. You got the CIA and all those other apparatuses going around the world, and you know what's going on in everybody's country. You know who takes money, you know who gives money, you know who laugh and talk, right? You know all of that. What the CIA, and then, if you try to get independence, they will pay one of their colonels or generals or even a sergeant, or whatever. Idi Amin was a sergeant, remember, in the King's Rifles, Scottish Rifles, one of them. And he looked like a good nigga. You know what? They went to him. He used to be an ex-boxer. They kind of like to, see, they're not right all the time. They said, boy, he's a sergeant in Scottish Rifles. Colonial period. Would you like to run things around here? This is the Israelis and the Americans. Israelis and Americans. Plus, you know, they have the Peace Corps there, so you know the Americans are there. They say, yeah, boss, I'll take the job. You take the job, nigga? Yes, sir. You be a good nigga? Yes, sir. I'll be just as good as niggas as you got. And they made Idi Amin the chief. In fact, to tell you the truth, I might have been flying through Entebbe Airport the same time he became the president. Because at the airport in Entebbe, I was just passing through, I saw all these guys with muskets and everything. They were real old-time muskets. And next thing, when I got to Dar es Salaam, I found that Milton Obote's counterpart or enemy had became president in a country not far away. I'll get back to the subject. So Idi Amin said, yeah, boss, I'll be a good nigga. And Idi Amin got in power, and he flipped on boss man, flipped straight up. You know, it was funny because everybody in Africa loved Idi Amin. Because in Uganda was like most of the other East African countries. The Asian community owned 95% of the stores. In Tanzania and people, the Asians were sucking up all the money, and the Africans had independence on paper, but they didn't have real independence because of neo-colonialism, and all of their money, they went and spent it with the Asian population, who had immigrated from India to help build railroads and things like that, like the Chinese did over here. So anyway, old Idi Amin got rid of all, I don't know if y'all remember 72 and 73, he exported. He kicked out all the Asians, all of them. A lot of them were friends of ours, you know, later on. He kicked them out, and he took the white folks that didn't run off. Y'all may not have seen Idi Amin sitting in one of them old king chairs they used to carry. Old people would carry the king in Africa on these chairs. Guess who Idi Amin had? One of the ambassadors from England had that boy. You gotta carry. And he wasn't no light fella anyway, and they didn't carry that brother. The point I'm making was, those are classical things that they do. that one misfire. We want the same misfire to happen here, but we want that misfire to carry on with justice. And I'll get to that in a minute. So let's get back to organizing unity of opposition. Strategic alliance. Iran had a war with Iraq, but now Iran and Iraq are friends for a long time. Iran, Iraq, and Syria are all friends, right? So they've developed a regional alliance. And then you hear the news always talking about Iran is suddenly helping Yemen. You hear it all the time. In this strategic alliance, as an outside force that's helping heavy in Syria, was the reason for the big turnaround in Syria is Russia. The U.S. bombed, for 2 years, they bombed all the Daesh and all them guys. Russia came in 2 weeks and knocked them out of the box. In other words, you're not going to bomb your friends. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia created those bombs. So it was falsity that they was bombing. They wasn't bombing nobody but dirt somewhere. So now, organizing the unity of opposition, semi-consolidation. Number 4, regional vision. Right now, it's not the liberation of just Palestine, right? That's one of the continuous harmonies, one of the continuous symbols of necessity to liberate Palestine against Israel. But also, you have a unified vision of the Middle East now. That's a strategic vision out of necessity. You have Yemen, you have Iran, you have Iraq, and you have Syria. And backing it up is the Soviet Union. Because remember, the United States haven't been nice to people. When they broke up the Soviet Union, turned into Russia, they was laughing at them. Yeah, we won, like we won bubble gum, you lost applesauce. In other words, communism lost, right? And America, we won. That's what they sound like kids on. Now, regional vision, number 4, and we are waiting for number 5, is victory. The victory of that whole region, and the victory of Haq over Batil. That's what we're pushing for. But now we want to think about a few things. This was a 100% correct analysis. But you can go back as far as you like. You can go back to Lebanon, 2006. Nasrallah was mentioning it today. 2006, the Lebanese or Hezbollah forces pulled a strategic victory over the Zionist forces. This is the only time you saw Israelis sitting on tanks crying full tears, real tears. And they was talking like, we can't find them, we can't see them, they're ghosts. They was using that, and anybody remember that? In the news, they was using that language. They're like ghosts. So maybe they had them ghost shirts, you know, that the Indians used to talk about. And if you do these certain dances, the enemy can't see you. Well, it didn't work too good. The white folks could still see them. But still a nice myth. But it should work. In Lebanon, it worked. It run the Zionists crazy. So, You have 2006. How did they beat them? The U.S. and the Israelis have what they call number 4, stage 4 and 5 weapons. The military there combined 2 and 3 stage weapons in a new configuration, in a new combination, and they defeated the Zionists and the Americans' weapon that was all stage 5 and stage 4. Defeated them by combining the old stuff that they had in a new configuration. Hey man, that's real asymmetric warfare. It worked. Okay? Strategic alliance, global vision. We had a shirt, I got one on somewhere. Boss man bites the dust. We're going to put that out for Eid. We got some downstairs. Boss man bites the dust. The other thing is Najaf and Karbala. I mean, it's not other things, but it's a whole line of stuff. I'll just mention a few. You got to remember, and the things that I'm mentioning are things that we all remember. Remember, we was talking. In Najaf and Karbala, they both in Iraq. You have millions of people going to Iraq at a certain time every year. It's like they Hajj, except it's bigger than Hajj. They go in there to celebrate a certain Imam Hussein's martyrdom. Imam Hussein's martyrdom has the martyrdom, and then on Arbaeen, 40 days later, they all go. It's numbers in the millions. Nobody else even knew or had any idea what was going on. But you got to remember now, we said it here over and over again. Allah getting them ready for something. They don't know what it is. The Shia, they don't know what it is, right? The Iranians and Iraqis, they don't know what it is. The Americans, they don't know what it is. Then the minute they assassinated, right, Soleimani and Muhandis, January 3rd, people by the millions came out. And it solidified the unity and harmony so much because first they took both of their bodies to Najaf and Karbala. One's Iranian, other's Iraqi. If you saw those flags and you saw the unity and harmony and cooperation between those two peoples, you said that's it. Then they took both of their bodies to cities all around Iran. Y'all remember watching TV? What was it? People in the millions. In the millions. They couldn't hardly move. They couldn't go at a certain time because they'd get there to the city and they couldn't hardly move. They had to carry the people real slow. People was on the stand. They was taking the body, and people was throwing their scars and everything. They'd wipe it on there and then throw it back to them. Wipe it on and throw it back to them. People wanted the blessings. When you saw that, at least when I saw it, I said, that's exactly, that looks and sounds like the fire and energy at the beginning of the revolution. And that's what they did. You see it right now reflected in how Iran is surviving. Can you imagine? You got to imagine what's going on with Iran. I'm going to just go back a minute ago. Iran is the one that's supporting this Quds demonstration, what we're talking about now. Subhanallah, asra bi'abdihi laylan min al-Masjid al-Haram ila al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Right? Iran is the one that started Quds demonstrations 40 years ago. On September 22nd, 1980, Iran was attacked by Iraq at that time. Saddam Hussein. They had an 8-year war, over 1 million people dead. Over 1 million people dead. When the U.S. invaded Iraq in 91, the Iranians had an argument in the parliament. Should we help the Iraqis? And they was going to do it. You know why they didn't do it? Because they said the Iraqis is kind of scary and they'll surrender. If we go out fighting with them on their behalf, they'll quit. Under Saddam, they would quit because nobody wanted to fight. The Iranians knew the Iraqis pretty well. Not going back way in history, where the Iraqis misled Imam Hussein and Imam Ali. It's a long history. Not misled, but they didn't come through. That's just what the talk is. I don't know. You have to ask them. They know better than I do. But now look here. In Iran, they was prepared for what's happening now way back then. They fought an 8-year war with the whole world against them. No help from nobody. I'm going to breeze on through this. There's never in history where a country had to fight everybody at one time. But they did, and they survived that war. When you go up to now, I'll just skip and put it like this. There are 3 centers of gravity in the world today. 3 centers of gravity. And I picked this up. I was in Iran a few years ago at a Hollywoodism conference of all things. Why they call it Hollywoodism. They had a movie, 300, where the Greeks stopped the Persians, a 1,000,000-man army, 300 white folks stopped all of, which actually happened. It was just 3,000 years ago, but hey, what the heck? It was 3,000. But it was they had to go back that far to find something to make Americans cheer about it. It was anti-Persian, anti-Iranian. That's what the whole thing was about. And then there was another movie called Argo. Y'all might have saw that. Argo, something like that. Argo was Aflac, whatever his name was, Ben Aflac, maybe. He kind of repented later because Aflac, y'all don't know that's an Arabic name. Michelle Aflac is the one that started the Ba'ath Party. It's a Christian Arab name. Michelle Aflac. Ben Aflac comes from that crew family. You know, the guy that make accounting and all of them. Look at him. Arab. Of course, there's a few hidden Arabs in the movie houses. But anyway, Ben Affleck repented a little bit on that movie Argo. He didn't want to be a stooge anymore. The Iranians was mad. They were jumping up and down. They had a whole conference on those 2 movies because they mad at the Americans. I went there. They misquoted me, but I told them, hey, don't be bothered with what them people. You can't be mad at what they do. They're going to do that over and over again. Here's what you do. You get your own global communications network. That's what we told them. Then they took me later out to a place that I stayed a lot because they took me and they would isolate me a lot. And I thought it was something slick going on. But actually, they would be out there and I wouldn't be in the regular program with everybody like I used to. I was being questioned and da-da-da-da. And then they say, now we're going to bring our experts to talk to you. And they was using that term, experts. So the translator, when they brought their experts, this was on leadership and on management. This is when 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when that first article, first on strategy, then next on strategic management under conditions of repression. That did it. Then they brought me out there and I was wondering, why y'all, they said, we just have you here. We want you to talk with our experts. They're managers, all of their advisors. And that's what we're doing over and over again, and I did it over 3 times. First thing the translator said, when you translate, he was a professor, English professor, and he was, you know, when you really translate English, Persian, English, sometimes you get a little headache, you get a little brain tired. He said, man, I'm getting a little tired. He was translating. One question he asked me, did you really write this stuff? Because he was looking at me, this is strategic management under conditions of repression. Did you really? He's reading it and he's saying, man, this is deep. And then he read all the other stuff I wrote on leadership and management. He said, man, this is deep. Then, when they brought their experts, and the experts started to run down management and all that, he started with Abraham Maslow's theory, translated Persian. And the translator stopped him. He said, he already knows all of that stuff in spades. So don't waste your time. In other words, everything that you're going to try to teach him, he already laid that stuff out. That's what happened in Iran. Let me get back to 3 centers of gravity in the world right this minute. 3 centers of gravity. In Asia, it's China. In Asia, it's China. What America did to the Japanese 20 years ago, they won't be able to do to China this go around. It's a new time. Right? It's in a different situation. And don't forget, the silkworm missiles, 40 years ago that Iran was getting, he got them from China. Anyway, they could get Chinese weapons. One of the centers of gravity in the world is China. Now, I'm going to mention why I mentioned these 3 centers of gravity and how it all links together. When I was in the apartment where I used to stay all the time, one of the Hezbollah leaders, you can tell he was a leader, you know, they took me over there. I talked to him all the time. For the last 4 or 5 times I went, I talked to them, and I was wondering why they was just sucking everything they could out of me, you know, because they had the record. They said, this nigga right here, he ain't like them other niggas. And the last test was when Zarif was doing one thing, and we had a big program. All the brothers that had been over here, they said, Imam Muhammad al-Asi thinks that the United States is going to attack Iran. What do you say? I said they want to, but they can't. This is 2008 or so. I said they want to, but they can't. They ain't gonna touch nobody. Now let me get back to the triangle thing. When we went to the apartment, there was a little rubber or plastic globe on the floor. You know that you blow up with air like a basketball. And the guy took it. Because remember, I told him, you got to have your own communication network. Because they took Hezbollah off there. They had taken Press TV off there. You got to have your own stuff. So he took the globe. He says it takes 3 satellites for what they had. 1, 2, 3. For a global communication network that they wanted, what their technology. And that's basically all he said. That it takes 3. He was just telling me what you just said at the program, get your own network and everything. That same evening he took me over there, he said, this is exactly what we're doing. Guess what? The first satellite that stayed out there, when did it go up? 2 weeks ago? It's up there and it's there. The first one is up there. Everybody else may not know why it's up there, but look out for the next one. If they get the first one up, they had mishap, and then this one stayed, right? That means the one that come after that, they're going to stay. When that happens, Iran has its own global communicated connection. CNN, Bloomberg, all them people, right? Iran has its own communication network globally. And it can put all its people on there, right? You don't have to ask nobody about, well, we want to press TV. They pull it off when they get, because it's theirs, right? So I'm telling you, we've been in tune all the time. Out of the 3 centers of gravity, one in Asia is China. In the Middle East, it's Iran. It is the center of gravity in that region. It's sucking up almost all oxygen. The next center of gravity in the United States is us. Don't get nervous. It's right here. It's right here. Now, this is not arrogance, this is confidence. This stuff about future transformational speculation, it's not speculation. It's forecasting. That's all it is. It is technical forecasting. And we didn't start this last week. We've been doing this. And we're winning the battle here. We could say we've won. But boss man don't know what to do. You think if any of this is correct, any of it, if any one of these things is correct, which has 15 or 20 more to go with it, that they have all the record of, and they monitor what you say, there is nobody in the State Department or any high school of learning or combination of people. I listen to all their speakers, see what they're talking about. They have Iranian experts, they have Middle Eastern experts, they have European experts, right? They have experts in the Department of Strategic Studies all over on every subject. And when they talk about Iran, they always wrong. Of course, they have a lot of little sounds like it's workable, but they ain't never right. Can you imagine? They never right. Now, suppose you got Negro in Southeast Washington, of all places, and ain't wrong. Of course, we know that only Allah is perfect, but I'm talking about these analysis are correct every time. Do you know how much panic boss man gonna be in? He didn't just start this panic. He been panicked ever since we've been here and doing the dope dealing. How that nigga figure out this? How can't nobody else figure it out, right? How can somebody look at the globe and the world and how all the forces moving and kick this stuff in every time? You think he ain't mad? He can't do it. And look at the resources he got. And then he can't stop us from talking. And the predictions, because I used to think, man, I better start quieting down a little bit, because you get arrogant and then you'll start saying stuff and it don't come out. I said, and then you talk to yourself, you know, self-talk. So, man, you better keep your mouth going and keep running. You know, that may be keeping you alive. You don't know what's going on. You just got to trust in Allah and keep on rolling. Guess what? It's not getting worse. It's getting better. With boss man feeding you information and everybody around him feeding you bad information, misconstrued information all the time. And you taking all that, but you think boss man ain't upset? I'm telling you. The other center of gravity in the United States is right here. Don't worry about all the Negroes talking and doing all that. I'm sorry. That's not the world we're living in. The world we're living in is a world that's in suspended animation right now. It'll come out of this, but it won't be the same. It don't make no difference what it becomes. We have a chance to intersect with that right now. That's what we got. So all we got to do is figure out how we want to do it. And then that makes a difference, but it don't make a difference. Why? Because Allah knows that boss man is trying to stop you from doing anything because he thinks it's you. You don't believe in God. You don't believe in God, so he can't say, that nigga's a ventriloquist. Allah just got that nigga talking. They don't say that. They don't say that. They say it's the nigga. It ain't the nigga. Because they don't believe in God. That finished, if they believed in Allah and accountability, they say, there's a God. We're going to be accountable for this. We better do right. You see what I mean? They can't believe. They believe, you know how they personalize everything? It's Saddam Hussein. It's Ayatollah Khomeini. It's all, they personalize evil, right? So to them, people can do anything they want support around me because they have personalized it. It ain't God, it's that nigga. We got to scramble it and they can't, because the nigga gonna be here as long as Allah want him to be here. Then when Allah don't want him, he gonna float him on off to wherever he got to go, right? They don't believe that. They believe all of this is coming from the nigga. They believe it. That's what they believe. They don't believe it. They don't believe that you laying there and all of a sudden you just hook up all of this stuff. They don't think the angels come. Nigga, why don't you go and do this? Or go and do that. You know what I mean? Not revelation like, but inspiration like. You know what, nigga, look at that blind man. You know, they got Chinese over there, they got Mexicans here, they got that. That's how it's gonna work out. They don't think that helps what's happening. They think till the nigga sit down with a slide rule or something. You know what I mean? That's the way they do. And put, oh, this goes here, put numbers all on it. That's gonna happen. Statistics say that these people's gonna do that. That's what they think. They ain't never right. They haven't been right, I don't know when. And anytime they got something to go their way, it's because they forced it. So, what we're saying, trans-forecasting is a gift from Allah. If you're the only one that's doing it, it's a gift from Allah. It ain't something that, you know, a lot of people gifted to play basketball, a lot of people can run real fast, stuff like that. Well, I wasn't gifted with that. I was gifted with the long run. When I run marathons, I could run them easy. Because I was big, you know, and the people would be running with me. They'd be them little skinny runners, you know, the marathoners, they'd be little skinny runners. They ain't got no fuel, but I was around 200 pounds at that time. So I could run a long way because I was carrying fuel like a truck. You can't stop it from, it just got to carry all the fuel it needs with it, right? Them little skinny people would be falling out and everything, and I'd just cruise along, but I would do it at my pace. You know, about a 7-minute mile or something like that. 6.5, 7 miles, yeah. long range, long distance. You see what I mean? Continuous, protracted. You ain't in no hurry, right? But you're going to keep on moving till you get to where you want to go, until you drop dead. I just want to mention before closing, this is not arrogance, it's confidence. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance is a lot of people we saw. Muhammad Ali got arrogant for a while, so he didn't have to work out to fight Leon Spinks. Leon Spinks beat him. He had fixed his arrogance. Buster Douglas beat the snot out of, what was his name? Tyson. They used to call him Iron Mike. And he believed it. Because for his one time, it was true. Mike Tyson could hit so hard, he could hit you with his thumb and almost knock you out, right? He was really Iron Mike at that time. So, I'm Iron Mike. That's what the press say. So I don't have to go running and jumping up and down. I just stroll around the yard, 2, 3 little things, and lay back in my zebra skin house, right? And go and beat Buster Douglas. That's what happened. But Buster Douglas actually whooped him. You see? And Buster Douglas is never going to be a famous fighter. This is only fame and glory. That's the difference between us and them. There's a difference between arrogance, a whole lot of difference between arrogance and confidence. Confidence is just something that you acquire. It gets, hey, I ran that, I made that, I finished that. So you get confidence. You even actually train a little harder, train a little better. And as you do, your confidence grows. You get better. That's what's been happening. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Euros got arrogance. We got confidence. It's different. We got confidence in this analysis. And the new ones we got, well, we'll share them as we go along. And when it's time to stop sharing, we'll stop sharing. That's what Allah gave us. I want to just mention before closing that we're going to have Eid, inshallah, probably Sunday and maybe Monday. What we'll do is we'll have 2 tables outside with food. And then when the people come, we're going to start at 9:30. But if enough people come early, we'll have a prayer. You know, say around 9:30. And we should keep our distance in here. We'll have the numbers around 40 people. Because if you got 40 people in here, you got plenty of room. Like the way we are now, no problem. We got plenty of room. We'll have better harmony here than they do at the grocery store. You go to the grocery store, they're counting the people that go in, and you look around, we got more room than that in here. So we'll cut it down at 40. And you can stick out your hand, you can do like this, you got the room. Okay. And plus, we'll have a few masks here in case people, I don't know anybody that wouldn't have a mask, but we should all have a mask. So we should take care of the safety needs. Then, when we pray the first Khutbah, I'll lead that, and then we'll go out and start serving food. As other people come, right? Then another brother will lead that Khutbah, you know, whenever it gets up to a reasonable number. And we suggest that people, we was going to put a lot of chairs around, but we suggest people get their food and go home. Unless they're going to catch the subway, it'll be a few chairs where they can sit around, you know what I mean? But, you know, head on, go back to your car, eat in your car, as safe as possible. We're going to wipe everything down with bleach and all this stuff. And so if they catch anything, it won't be in here, you know. And every crew come in, we're going to be wiping all. You think we working down into government house, so we'll be wiping so much sanitary station. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. We want people to be safe and all hooked up, and of course, good food. We're going to do the same thing we always do, which is, and then after that, if other people come, we'll have another prayer. You know, I mean, this is a 10-minute prayer. It's not the whole long, you know, drawn out like we're doing now. We're just going to come in, do the formality, a few takbīrs in the prayer, and then 15 minutes at most, then we'll go eat. Then they can go home, get in the car, or they can sit out there in the car if they want. But we want people to keep moving and make sure it's a safe environment. So we'll do that until the people stop coming. And then we have no idea about how many people, so we have no idea. But we would like for everybody to call all their friends, because I don't know if they're going to have any other prayer, any other masjid. So this might be the only one doing it. So we want to do it safe, and we'll be doing it as long as they come. As long as they come, and then until we run out of food, and if we run out of food, we'll just tell everybody, come back tomorrow. We'll run and cook some more food right quick. And we'll have it the next day. So the way we look at it is Sunday and Monday. Remember, that's 3 days for Eid. So we got that covered. And we're going to try to have a safe, healthy environment. That's basically what we're saying. So we'll have as many prayers as we need, as long as the food lasts, and we'll do that. So we're just doing our part. We're not responsible for, what everybody else do. But we didn't want Eid to go by without some reality taking place. Well, Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and ignorance. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is desired. Ameen. Ikamat Islam.